I'm gonna pull the whole thing down. I'm gonna bring the whole fucking diseased, corrupt temple down on your head. It's gonna be biblical.
Hello, welcome to Patriots Across The Pond and Frens, episode 41. Today we've got an amazing guest, Rob Cunningham. We're going to be talking about all things crypto, financial, geopolitical, and whatever else we want to squeeze in as we go. I'll just do a little intro reading off Rob's website, which is the cool.show. That's KUWL.show. And if I can read this in the third person, I shall do my best. Rob's hunger for wisdom drives his endless curiosity to seek, question, and examine complex systems with passion. On this site, he shares his research, understanding, and vision with all. His background spans computer science, the United States Air Force, and major airline aviation, investment banking, business ownership, public speaking, philanthropy, and grassroots volunteering. CUEL stands for Knowledge, Understanding, Wisdom and Life, an acronym for Rob's passions and priorities. With more than 4 decades guiding flight crews, sales teams, corporate executives and public speaking on financial markets, monetary system and global events, Rob enjoys sharing his insights with audiences the world over. Welcome, Rob.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure. Nice to see you, Elisa.
Yes, good to see you again. I think the last time we saw each other was in November at the XRP event. Was that November? That was November, right?
In New York City?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was great. That was great. Yes, ma'am.
That was a fun event.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing a bit about XRP and all the other things. So just want to start off with how long you've been awake, how long you've been, fighting this cause and the system. We like to ask all our guests their sort of like journey coming into this and where we are now.
Yeah, well, that's a great question. None of us will be fully awake, but I guess the jolt, the big, clear, the paddles hit you, boom, is obviously 2020 for everyone. I've lived a pretty conservative life and always been the rebel and the rogue guy that's asking questions and bucking the system and always questioning why my whole life. And to give you an idea, my dad was like the 14th licensed chiropractor in the state of Georgia in 1959. Wow. Okay, you might as well be a witch doctor, right? I mean, you talk about bucking the system and being called everything but a son of God. So he always had to, push back against conventional wisdom and the elites and the AMA and all the narratives that they would try to if you were a competitor to the cool guys, you were an enemy and you'd get destroyed. So, he had to always live a life of bucking the system and questioning everything. And I think that probably is where a lot of my stubbornness or curiosity or however you want to position it came from. But I've always loved to be told no. No, you can't, walk on and play football at Georgia. No, you can't, recover from that broken knee and get in the Air Force and fly jets. And okay, you can get in, but only 30% of the people graduate. You're not going to actually fly. No, you can't quit and go in the airlines. You know how hard it is to get a job in it. So I love to be told no because it just fuels my fire.
Red rag to a bull, is it?
That's exactly right. And I hate more than anything to be lied to.
Yeah.
I utterly that is the red cape for my bull. Okay. Lie to me and fights on. Okay. Truth is everything, and let the chips fall where they may, but shoot straight with me.
Yeah.
And I think so many people that are awake now realize pretty quickly, if there is some choreographed effort to maybe kill 3 or 4 billion of us with a biological release, and then there's a group of people that look like they started the fire, but they're also trying to act like they're the firefighters and they're the heroes and they want to save us, and they're lying about everything, then if evil is this massive and this big across the globe, there's got to be a God, because if evil is this real, there is absolutely a God. And I've been lied to since they slapped me on the ass when I was born. Let's start from there. Let's just start questioning everything. And that's led us to this conversation right now, right? It's like one thing at a time. We got to look at the Gordian knot in every industry, in every ecosystem, in every government, in every norm, every culture, every religion, everything. We got to say, wait a minute, let's start from the beginning. Then what? And figure out who's been defining the rules and who's been, pissing on our leg and telling us it was holy water.
Yeah.
So that's I guess I feel really super blessed in that I could have never done this myself, but just my background in management information systems. You have to data tag every variable in a company and put it all together and then be able to simulate and change the environment and data tag everything to then have better insights and information into the overall design and begin to understand how everything correlates. Everything connects to everything else. Everything's relative to everything else. And if you misidentify things or leave things out, then you have omission and the program doesn't work right, or it gives you a distorted view. It gives you a lack of perspective or a lack of honesty. So what if there are people that want to build systems that only they can see and you can't? Maybe there is a father of lies, that does everything in this world for profit and loss instead of for principles and laws. And that kind of comes down to, you can't serve two masters. Are we serving the ones that are setting things up for their maximum power and control and money? Or are we trying to figure out what the actual truth is in every situation? What's the principle in the law? What's immutable, indestructible, and timeless versus what's this bullshit over here you're telling me?
Yeah.
And that's a challenge we all have to kind of fight every day, isn't it?
Exactly that. Well, we do know there's a God, don't they? Because a lot of us, in whatever shape or form, are turning back to some sort of spirituality, Christ consciousness, and God. But if there wasn't a God, those people on the other side wouldn't do everything they could to taunt God and delete God from everyone's lives, would they?
Or at least try to make it their passion to do just that. Right.
I think it's interesting what you said too, there's there's a lot of people that have been trained and a lot of people that are very intellectual, and they have to ask questions for their job, but they're also very indoctrinated. So they don't ask the right questions. They follow the rules. And I think we're seeing now, especially with the Epstein file drop, and it's only what, 2%, 3%, whatever they said, you're seeing these people really get shaken because the stuff that's coming out is kind of bypassing that intellectual, rational side that they've been able to be controlled with, right? And some of us, I guess, I guess this is the sort of age-old question we're going to be asking ourselves about this whole movement. Why were there some of us who never got fooled? Even if we got fooled a little, we woke up faster. We were able to see through it. We knew when we were being lied to. And that's not about the system. That's just in life, right? Like you said, I would rather someone come right up to me and say, I can't stand you. You're an asshole. Just tell it to me straight. Don't play games. Don't make up stories. That's fine. I can deal with it. And I think it's the same. So we search for the truth all the time. And then there's people who just like nothing. I mean, look at what the extent they have to go through to break through that zombie state that people are in, So that's kind of an interesting thing. Like, did we come here? Did God send us? Or we that first defense that was meant to raise the vibration to help wake all these other people and then help them through? But the point is, without this first level of folks like us who were, out there trying to wake people up, I don't know how those second round are going to get through it without us and being able to turn to us to say, well, like, explain this to me. We're doing a show right now. We're red pilling someone who woke up from these files. His whole world is crumbling because he viewed things in a different way. So it's kind of interesting. We all found each other, I guess, is what I'm saying.
It's like a magnetic force field, and there's either a positive or a negative. Magnets either like click together really hard or they repel one another. And I was talking about this with my earlier appointment that I had this morning. The 2020 bomb hit, and how many people left your lives? And yet how many new people showed up?
Yeah.
It was almost like the whole bucket got shaken, right? Everything shook. And those that were oppositional, that could never connect with you, left your world and walked away. They were superficial at best. And then the people that we never knew we needed, click, the batteries click together.
Yeah.
And there's almost this harmonic resonance and this connection. And then as a body, we're getting stronger together and learning. None of us are perfect, right? But we're trying to put the pieces back together. We're ultimately asking, who are we and whose are we? We did not design ourselves. We're not a product of a couple of rocks colliding in outer space, okay? And if we didn't design ourselves, there is a designer. And if there's a designer, what are those laws and principles? What were we designed for? What's our purpose? Why are we here? Why am I sucking oxygen right now? To work in a job for the machine's profit and loss motives, or to serve mankind with principles and laws and reign in the kingdom? Are we here to make the trains run on time? Or are we here to reveal the kingdom, serve one another, and have more abundance than we could ever imagine needing, right? So what do they have to tell us? Live in fear. There's scarcity. We're the controllers. Follow us. Comply and obey. And when you do all the things we tell you to do for 60 or 70 or 80 years, then we'll give you a trip. You'll earn a trip to the pearly gates. But while you're here, you're ours. How about you kiss my ass?
Yeah.
How about that?
Exactly. I mean, we've all had a lot of friends and stuff who went their different ways when COVID struck. and stuff over these last 4, 5, 6 years, family members and things. But the bonds we have gained throughout this, in fact, some of the people that we already knew, that our bonds have got stronger, but other people that we've met all around the world. It's just, we are fighting on God's army together. Doesn't matter if we're talking to each other through a screen. We are doing everything we can to get the message out. We've all been to protests and various things. But yeah, we've formed some fantastic bonds, and onwards and upwards.
Amen. Amen. That's what it's all about. It's all about life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, abundance, helping everybody else, along their way. I mean, what's the old adage? It's better to give than it is to receive, right? So
Yeah.
if we can all help each other with a little piece of information that we can bring to the table, and you do that to me, and we don't do it with any strings attached, next thing you know, everybody's table's full. And yet the only problem with that model for the other side is they don't get to hoard it all. They don't get to control it all. They don't get to set the narrative and set the rules and play God, right? So when we take on the responsibility of reigning as kings and queens, it pisses off the fake kings and queens.
Yeah.
And they'll do anything necessary, because in their world, in their ethos, the ends justify the means. And if that means getting rid of 3 or 4 billion of us with a little biological friend that they cook up in an oven somewhere, and then they're going to help us with ventilators and poisons from the Rockefellers, and they're here to help us. No, they're not. They're here to maintain control. They're here to preserve their monopoly. They're not here to help us. And until we have the eyes to see kind of what this place is, how it was set up. I mean, we live in this world, but not of it. If that doesn't explain that in living color, the dark side and the light side, I don't know what better example we could tell the world. And if they don't want to hear it, then they don't want to hear it.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't force it. So you mentioned abundance, and I think that's probably a really good segue. Could you speak to that a little bit? I mean, I know anybody who's in this movement, anybody that follows us, right? We all know that the world is changing because the light is overpowering the dark. And the more of us that wake up, the more we're seeing that and spreading that. But I think in practical terms, right? I mean, we're seeing and again, the normies, they don't see this. They don't understand what I have a guy who's in the stock market, multimillionaire. He is a really smart guy. He just found out, like within the last 2 weeks, about the Fed. And we try to, we're being very compassionate and understanding and empathetic because he was just so in the matrix, right? That's how we have to be. We have to be kind and empathetic as people their eyes start to open. But what people don't understand is that this has already started. So I know you have, you speak a lot about, things financial, and I'd love to hear you talk a little bit about what we think has already happened, what's happening, and what this golden age, that we're looking forward to, how that may present itself.
Sure. Wow. Let's see. Where's the best place to start? I guess in modern era, we can say there was a before 1913 and after 1913. Okay, we can talk about how we had a constitutional republic based on, a declaration of independence between a group of people and God. The two-party agreement. We the people and God. We declare all of our rights come from you. Right? We have unalienable rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, as long as we follow common law and universal law. I don't hurt you and you don't hurt me. I don't kill you. You don't kill me. I won't steal from you and you don't steal from me. Let's live and let live. Okay, under God's laws. All right. Just as an understanding, the Bible talks a lot about, the scripture talks about equal weights and measures. right? Honest weights and measures. Money is just a trust system. Money is just a way for us to codify value and then trade value back and forth between two people, right? Instead of me carrying around bags of gold, or, you know, having to have a trailer with a cow in it, or, you know, a special crate with eggs, and all I can do is, all I got's eggs to tell you, you know, well, the other egg guy on the road, maybe I'm allergic to eggs. What else you got? You know, we needed to have this medium of exchange that was universal, that everyone recognized, but it stored units of trust, value. Well, if you pervert that unit of trust and the value is not real, or the weights and measures don't work anymore, or you pervert that system, then you've destroyed the trust system that the economy is supposed to run on. So we went from a two-party system where there was one party was the Treasury, one party was we the people. 1913, we got a third partner in the marriage. We had we the people, we had the Treasury, we had this group called the Federal Reserve. It wasn't federal. They had no reserves. They're a non-governmental organization. They weren't part of the Constitution. They wanted to insert themselves in the middle of that trust process between the Treasury and we the people and extract all the wealth out of it without us knowing it. And so here we are with $39 trillion in debt, and we have a little piece of paper that says US dollar on it, but people want to ignore the little thing that says Federal Reserve note. And instead of it being an asset before 1913, it became a debt instrument after 1913. And so instead of us trading money, we were trading slave chains, because our agreement to use that Federal Reserve debt note obligated us to IRS, income tax, the 16th Amendment, and the deep state swamp that could create millions and millions and millions of rules and laws and compliance and edicts and ordinances. And because we're using their debt system, you got to come with all this other stuff comes, and you got to know, we get to now engineer every aspect of your life through the swamp because you're using our debt system. That was never the way this country, our nation, was ever designed to be. It was hijacked by a bunch of terrorist, non-US banking cartel assholes that inserted this thing called a Federal Reserve System on top of a constitution that was never intended to have anything like it. In the dark of night, on December the 23rd, 1913, when most congressmen and senators had already gone home, and after they sank the Titanic with the three biggest opponents to the Federal Reserve the year before, you know what date they sunk the Titanic in 1912?
Oh, I can't remember it. Go on.
April 15th. How ironic for that to be our tax day, huh? So
I thought it was April 12th. Was it not?
Double check me, please.
Either way, we're in a close window, right?
Yeah, right. So what we had is an individual, a group, a system that shows up and claims first dominion, claims first right over, puts a lien on our labor. Start small, just the rich, nobody else, income tax, and away we go, right? It's just going to be just this group, mission creep, mission creep, mission creep, mission creep, right? So unalienable means you can't put a lien on my life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. Here comes 1913, they're putting a lien on our labor. Our first 20, 30, 40%, 50%, however much they did lien, the lawyers, the people of justice, whatever they vote, and again, you voted them in, right? No, the whole monetary system was perverted, and then anybody that they want to buy and purchase at any price, they can buy and purchase. Amstel Rothschild, the founder of central banking, said, I care not who makes a nation's laws as long as I print the money. I don't care because I can buy anybody. That was an argument of confidence based on him understanding the susceptibility of man. to be bought, to have a price, to sell their convictions for this temporary gain for long-term pain. So the central banking masters of the world that created this central banking system hijacked us in 1913. And, after killing Lincoln because he did greenbacks and killing JFK because he did silverbacks and wanted to get rid of the CIA and didn't want to do the military industrial complex thing and didn't want to go into Vietnam. And he understood that they had their sights on the Department of Education so they could train all the minds full of mush and program us into their system. They took him out. And now we have Orange Man Bad, who's trying to wake up the world and explain that, look, debt is debt. It's not money. We've lost control. We're supposed to, every military officer and every elected official takes an oath to defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. There's nothing in the Constitution about a Federal Reserve.
Mm-hmm.
So why have we gone 113 years and let these asshole hijackers have their way with our country? We had a man come down an escalator in 2015 and go, oh, hi, I'm your new David. I'm going to kick Goliath's ass. And they've been hating the man since he came down the escalator.
Yeah.
Right? He wasn't a racist until the day before.
No.
He was a racist the day he came down, and a homophobe, and a white nationalist, and a toxic male, and a billionaire elitist, and best friends with Epstein, and you go down the list. Okay, that's all Trump was. Well, they were using fear in every way they possibly could to get rid of a man that they knew had not been sent by them, was not on their team. They feared that man, rightfully so. And here we are, 11 years later, 2015 to 2026. And guess who wins?
We the people and God.
And I stand corrected. I was getting 1912 confused with the date. You're 100% right. It was April 15th. And yes, there are no accidents in that. So yes.
Yeah.
Symbolism will be their downfall, won't it?
Exactly that. What a perfect. Let's just talk about the Q operation then. And since Trump came down the escalator, because we believe this, even long before the Q drops started happening, there was other things going on, and we do believe a lot of this was taken care of. But before that first Q drop, but we hear about Trump merging the Fed into the Treasury and all these other things to take this power back from this cabal. Do you want to talk about that for a bit?
Sure, absolutely. Look, understanding that, let's start with the idea of we cannot serve two masters. Okay? You can serve kingdom economics or the money system, right? Who are the three assassins of Jesus Christ? Money changers, hanging out in the temple, and the politicians that supported him. When he saw the RICO model, he saw how people were screwing, the money changers were using the temple to weaponize their power and control and screw people and give them 10 cents on the dollar in the shekel exchange. And he flipped over the tables and said, this is wrong. This is immoral. You're stealing from people. You're deceiving people. You're controlling people. You're all in a big matrix club together. You're conspiring against the people. He didn't flip the tables over because he hates money, hates commerce, hates trade, hates business, hates creativity. He flipped it over because the people were being screwed. And 5 days later, they hung him on a tree. Well, here we are today. Who are the three groups that are screwing us all? The central banks, the governments, politicians, and the feckless religious entities that don't teach anybody anything. That are out, they're more busy selling memberships than they are equipping people to understand how to walk a godly life, and how to wear that armor of God. They ought to be teaching relationship with God, not membership in their club.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so we're learning the very same lessons today that we were taught 2,000 years ago. And so I guess the best way to understand, the book itself, the law book, the plan, there's the plan book. Okay, there's another design book. 60% of that book is about immutable laws and principles, kingdom design, abundance, life, creativity, work, purpose, service, on earth as it is in heaven, how things ought to work, how things were designed, and why we're here, who we are and whose we are. 40% of the book is, if you get it wrong, this is the shit that's going to happen to you. So 60% of it is, why we're here, and 40% is what happens if you get it wrong. What happens if you follow the wrong master? What happens if you worship, you chase the gold, the girls, the glory, the Lambos? Nothing matters but your P&L, your bottom line. And by God, you'll step on anybody to do it, because the power in the now and the fleeting time that we're here, that's the most important thing. Happiness comes from wealth and power and status and control. If that's the route you want to go down, good luck. Okay, so what have we been told our whole life? Oh my God, we're running out of land. We're running out of water. Oh my God, we don't have enough to eat. Poverty everywhere. How are we ever going to make it without the angels of government dancing on the head of a pin and regulating every aspect of our speech and our diet and our behavior, and our bank accounts and what we do and what we don't do? So you've got these people that live, what is it? What's the old saying? Pride goeth before the fall, right? The egomaniacs, the ones that want to play God instead of serve God. And they gravitate towards positions of power and lording over us and trying to micromanage and control us like they're the owners of the world and we're their property. Our labor is their labor and our liberties are theirs to regulate. So that ain't the way it is. That's not the way this place was set up, right? Yeah. And unfortunately, we've all been, the old whisper game in kindergarten. You try to tell a story and you go around the circle and it comes back and it's nothing like the original story that was whispered. Well, that happens to adults too. The whisper game has come around, and what we think is normal and what we value, what we prioritize, what we think is a good person and a bad person, and what's going to make us happy based on the digits in a bank account, or whether we sit in first class or steerage, or whether we have an oceanfront view in a mansion, come on. Our sense of value and importance and purpose has been so perverted to a materialistic metric. And I'm not saying look, I love nice things. I love beautiful homes. I love to see the world. I love to see the beauty of this abundant world. But we're all kidding ourselves if we think we own any of it. We're just stewards while we're here.
Yeah. One
of my favorite sayings is, you ever seen a U-Haul behind a hearse?
Right.
We're not taking anything with us. Steward it well while you're here. Love everybody else. Enjoy the abundance. And when you leave, let the next up, let them enjoy the abundance.
Yeah.
It's a matter of owning stuff or having it own you.
Right. It's a matter of stewardship.
Yeah. As
a good steward when we're here. We call it ownership or equity or title or an investment, or it's in my trust, it's in my checking account. We want a status and title and hoard and call it up. We don't own crap, and we ain't taking any of it with us. We're stewarding it while we're here. But They've got all the matrix rules and how to lock it all up and how to hoard it. And the more we can hoard, the happier we'll be, right?
Well, let's
you know,
not forget the way they have done that to us is because they've kept us in a mindset of lack, first of all. And if the government can take all of it, then it makes you double down on holding it, right? Like, oh, you want to get a trust because if, Uncle Bill dies and he doesn't have a trust, the government's going to take 50%. Well, let's focus on that so it doesn't get taken away. So they have literally brainwashed everyone into this mentality. And then what does that mindset of lack do? Well, it attracts more lack. That's why people can't get
and it violates the fear not principle that we were told 365 times not to do.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we are learning about the materialistic world and how we need to move away from that. We're all being taught through this that to use our discernment, and we are honing our skills on that, and we have been ever since. But what you were just saying about these sort of like world leaders that want to take everything from us and keep us in this, we never knew who these people were years ago, but now you've got people like Klaus Schwab and Yovel who are in that, and they are there. It is dark to light. They are there in front of us telling us what they want to do, and we think that is part of this white hat operation to get all this out, but they cannot hide in the shadows anymore.
Correct.
Everyone knows who they are.
Enough. You know what? If it only takes 7% of us to know it, and that's 7 times more than the 1% that used to know it, we win. It doesn't have to be 51%, right? It has to be enough to wake up the world.
Yeah,
exactly. And if people will realize they took over the media, they took over the textbooks, they took over the newspapers. They took over the election process. They took over the money system. They took over big pharma. They took over the military-industrial complex. They took over the medical-industrial complex. They write the textbooks. They report the news. They tell you what's important. They took over again. Did Christ say, Peter, I want you to go out and on the rock and the sound principles of what I've taught you, go set up 47,000 501c3s. I don't think it says anything like that, does it? When you put a P&L on a religious membership group, as long as you don't say anything you're not supposed to, and we'll give you tax-free revenue, well, those who give can take away. And the last thing I don't remember there being any teachings about, tax incentivized truth training.
Yeah. You also left
I
out
haven't read anything about that anywhere.
Yeah, you left out food too, because I'm sure it's there. That's the other thing they took over. Because if you can control the
big
food,
ag,
right?
Right. Yep.
Then you just poison people to death, and they're all holding hands. It's like George Carlin said, it's a big group, and you ain't in it. What I think is also interesting is that I think this journey that we're all in isn't necessarily about waking up. I think it's more about remembering.
Yes.
Because like nobody remembers, right? That 3%. 3% is what we were charged in a tax when we founded this country, and now we're up to 36%.
Right. Well, think about this too, Elisa. You just triggered something in me. They got so hubris and so centralized and so power drunk. Think about this, in our government, they have one person, the Food and Drug Administrator, a single entity in the world's largest, richest government can decide what poisons go into the food to make us sick, and then what poisons go in the pharmaceutical petroleum products that supposedly help us from the sickness they created with the drugs in the food. So it's one drug versus another drug, and what's safe and what's not safe, and how much arsenic is okay, how much mercury is okay in the shots. And you corrupt or own one individual that is responsible for all the rules of all the petrochemicals that go in all the food and in all the drugs You think that one person could maybe do a little damage?
Yeah.
One person.
Yeah. And that's the problem. It's not one person.
It's a
Because
system.
these people are figureheads that are controlled.
But yeah, that's correct. But they're figureheads that are controlled with opacity and ignorance. We don't see what they're doing. They tell us an opposite story, and then there's no way for us to hold them accountable and have transparency or accountability to match their words with their actions. They control the entire narrative, the political process, the media process, the AMA process, the big pharma. Do we know that big pharma today lobbying is twice the size of big oil in Washington, D.C.?
Wow.
And then look at what Robert Kennedy's doing and how much he's hated because he's trying to pull the tablecloth and rip the veil and let people see the dirty underside of what they've been doing to us with poisons and food and vaccines and medicines under the idea of calling it medicine. And he pulls it back, and they want him just as dead as they want Trump dead.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the beauty about that is that pretty much anyone that the mainstream media tells you to hate, you want to be putting your attention on them, really.
Yeah.
Everything's inverted. It's an inverted matrix right now.
Inverted system.
Elisa, you're right. We are remembering
Yeah.
who we are and whose we are, and that we've got to get back to first principles discernment, and we have to get back in a one-to-one relationship with our Creator and Father and tune out the bullshit.
Yeah. It's interesting because they've turned us into, having Stockholm, not us, but the Stockholm syndrome.
Yes.
I watch it. And I'll just give you 3 examples. I watch a relative who's, having some heart issues. Okay. A gazillion ways you can deal with that in a natural way, right? A basket full of pharmaceuticals, and proud that before she left the hospital got 3 shots, her COVID booster, her flu shot, and her RSV. You're not going to change that mentality no matter what you say. And we've said, then you have people in the legal / tax world, the accountants, the CPAs, the tax attorneys, right? Because I deal with a lot of those too in business. And they will fight. You'll try to explain how income tax is illegal, how it's unconstitutional, how it's voluntary, and they will fight you. They will try to fight you. And I'm thinking, you're fighting? You like paying taxes? Well, probably not, but it's their livelihood. So they can't think, well, if I didn't have to pay taxes, maybe I wouldn't have to work so hard, and maybe I could do something else with this knowledge base I know, but they don't think like that.
That
right?
is because they're still coming from this service to self rather than this service to others attitude that everyone needs to adopt.
That's right. And the third example, I remember going to a networking meeting, and the guy who runs it, of course, he doesn't like Trump, which I'm thinking is probably a male ego thing more than anything else, right? Because a lot of men don't like him because they're probably jealous of his intelligence, what he's accomplished, the beautiful wife he has, and then the women hate him because he's a toxic male, right? So you're dealing with ego there. But he told me, isn't it terrible what's going on in Texas? Like, these kids are getting so sick because they don't have vaccines. So I started telling him, I was like, I don't even have time for this. And I'm like, yeah, well, do you know what's in a vaccine? And I started telling him. He doesn't want to hear it. But I got a call from him about a week ago, and he said, Elisa, I'm tired of listening to other people. I think I want to listen to you a little bit about these natural things because I don't seem to be getting better with what I'm taking. So they're all Stockholm syndrome, and what is it going to take? What does it take? But that's what they did. They're brilliant. They are brilliant in how they
masterfully deceitful, and think about it. And that example, I use that all the time, Elisa. And America is the airplane. The foreigners are in the cockpit. The citizens are the passengers. And most of them, that flight attendant, she would never do. Oh, the pilot, he went to college with my son. He's a nice boy, isn't he? I mean, and they're all being paid for by entities that aren't even American. And they oftentimes don't even know it.
Yeah.
I would tell you, I don't even know how many people in government, governors, congressmen, senators. I talk to people in legislation all the time. They can barely spell Federal Reserve,
Yep.
much less begin to tell you how it has been weaponized against us.
100%. And then if you mention any other rabbit holes, like, you know, the digital asset area, or you talk about Nasara Jassara.
Oh no, conspiracy theorists.
They don't even know. They
know.
look at you like you're just, no, I never heard of that. You know how many accountants I just mentioned to them, like, oh, what do you think about Nasara Jassara? It's like, what? What?
Yeah.
And
well, let's talk about that then, because Nasara Jassara, a lot of people are just batting this around now. I heard about these things over 10 years ago. I like to call it Trump Sara, because I don't think when it's rolled out, if it is going to come out, it's going to be exactly like people think it is. But we've seen over the last few years that little bits of it are happening all the time, you know, with talking about taking the IRS down, no tax and tips, and various other things. Do you want to talk about this a little bit? And then obviously we talk about XRP and what you see is coming. And
Sure. The way I like to position, there's a technical story about, farmers and lawsuits that they filed, and lawsuits where they went and met with Clinton and Marines, a little help, and they got some signatures. And, right. And then the fact of the matter was that they had them dead to rights from a lawful standpoint, that you can't treat us the way that we've been treated, like property and cattle, and they have rights to their fruit of their labor and their farm and their products and their crops, and all these liens and debts and encumbrances were unconstitutional, and they needed to pay us all back for all the wealth they had stolen. Okay. Apparently that was supposed to, for those that don't know, that was supposed to take effect on 9/11.
So, well, the day before, wasn't it?
The day before, we had Rumsfeld admit that they had lost, $2.2 trillion they couldn't find in their little accounting, right? So, but the bigger picture from my vantage point is when you turn the money changer tables over, or in this case, turn them right side up, and wealth is restored to we the people. President Trump said in 2017 in his inauguration address, this is not about restoring power from giving power from one party to the other, one administration to the other. It's about giving power back to we the people.
Yeah.
Okay. And he did it with a military intelligence officer and a JAG, a judge advocate general officer, based on the braids on their caps standing right behind him. Okay. Which was the symbol that the only way we're going to get rid of the terrorists and the hijackers in our country is through the military, because they're so powerful, they're so strong, they're so well funded. We're going to have to take this Gordian knot down carefully, strategically, and powerfully, but we're going to have to use every tool in our tool chest to do it. Okay? The public awakening, the legislative process, the military process, the military uniform code of military justice, the law of war manual, the continuity of government, executive orders, and time and patience and deliberate collaboration with other nations the world over who no longer want to be victimized by this quote unquote world reserve currency and Federal Reserve system. How do you take down a system that's 110 years old, or well over 100 years old, that controls all the militaries, that has the biggest military industrial complex on earth? What kind of crazy person would even attempt to do such a thing? Right? So where we're at now is, you look at the members of the Board of Peace. President Trump, he just last month or earlier this month, him and his team went to Davos and said, you guys, nice knowing you, kiss our ass, we're out.
Yeah.
Bye. You know, we're not playing your game anymore. And oh, by the way, we're taking Greenland with us on the way home. You know, and so now you have 60 plus and growing nations around the world that want to join the Board of Peace, and they've told the United Nations goodbye, World Economic Forum goodbye, the World Health Organization see you later. And what we're about to have is a brand new monetary system that's true and honest, transparent and accountable the world over, that's interoperable, it's interdependent on honesty and transparency and accountability. And as we speak right now, it is far more profitable to maintain peace around the world than it is to fight wars and soak us in debt. So what President Trump's leadership has done with these allies around the world is to create an honest monetary system where people can freely exchange in mutual consent, person to person, wallet to wallet, entity to entity in 3 to 5 seconds, and we'll be able to move money around at will. As long as I want to buy something from you, Stu, or you want to sell me something, you and I shake hands and we're not hurting anybody or violating the law, we can do trade. I don't need a middleman. I don't need a priest class. I don't need a gatekeeper. I don't need an SEC regulator. I don't need to trust me, bro. I'm from Jamie Dimon's bank. I'll take care of you. You know, we don't need any third-party middleman in a world that is supposed to operate on mutual consent. 2 people, not 3.
Yeah.
Right.
No interest.
We're getting no interest, no usury, no fees, no compliance, no behavior modification, no dress codes, nothing. Okay. It's free exchange of value, which is all, and trust, which is all money is. I can trust you and you can trust me. If we want to trust each other and do business together, we can do business together. That's all money is. It's a trust system. I can exchange trust with anybody I want to. Kiss my ass if you don't like it. Okay? Take your speech codes and your social media police and jump off a bridge. Okay? But you can't tell me what I can say, and you can't tell me how I can live my life as long as I'm peaceful, lawful, and respectful, and I'm not hurting anyone. I am not a pet on your animal farm. I am not chattel. I'm not your property. You didn't create me. You didn't purpose me. You didn't build the joint. Last time I checked, you got no rights and title over me. Kiss my ass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I just want to add one thing. You know, before when you were talking about Jesus and turning over the tables, I think there's a really big argument for saying that we're really not talking about 100+ years here. If you go back and realize what Lincoln was dealing with, right? That's before the Federal Reserve ever even came, may have been being planned.
He needed greenbacks in order to have an economy to pay the soldiers to save the nation.
Yes. But what I'm saying is the system of control. I would be so bold as to say those same people that were in control back then are still the same people. Maybe they have different faces. They have different names, right? So the system.
The Rothschilds go back to the days of the Vatican, the 1600s.
Yeah.
Money started. The heart of this is the UK. Stu, it's your fault. Okay.
Sorry.
All the damn bankers over there in England, the city of London, it's those assholes that did this to us. I mean, we're still living under British accreditation registry legal rules and the British Federal Reserve System started by Mayor Amstel Rothschild in the 1600s, right? The Fed, I mean, the redcoats just kept coming at us. We might have won the battle of 1776 and the war. They never quit. They just went back and retooled. They kept coming and kept coming and kept coming. And then they get the banking system and boom.
Yeah.
Follow the money.
That's right.
Follow the money. They got the banking system and they got back in the catbird seat.
And the point, I guess, to what you just said about who'd be crazy enough, so to speak, to come in and try to dismantle this system. Well, you're not just talking about a couple of 100 years. You're talking about God knows how far back this goes, the control, the different names they had, how they changed, the groups, and this is worldwide. So
in 195 nations, right?
this is a huge war. And I want to say something also about Trump too, because you said before he came down that escalator and then everybody, all these people started vilifying him and turning on it. But I always like to look at it from a different angle. He was an amazing infiltrator because these people thought he was one of them. So not only was it just he just showed up and everybody hated him because he wanted to take them down, he basically said, F you, I'm not who you thought I was. Yeah. I know everything about you.
He played the game for decades.
And now you're effed. And so that's why they hated him so much. He had the goods.
And you know who his twin is that they hate as much? Scott Bassett.
Yeah.
Because he wired the system. They know how much he knows. He's like a Muslim convert to Christianity. Scott Bassett knows. He worked for Soros Management. He watched him take down the British pound, the sterling, right? He knows the deep, dark, intricate underbelly of how this maniacal system has been put in place, and he knows how to clip all the right wires to make it fall. And they hate Scott Bassett maybe more than they hate Trump.
Yeah, and he is a cool customer, isn't he? And they certainly knew who Trump was when he roasted them at that Al Smith charity dinner.
Yes.
There was a lot of sweating people there, and it was beautiful to see.
Oh my God, that's so funny. They're going to be making movies and books about this. I tell people all the time, we talk about and idolize and love and respect and admire George Washington and the troops, with no pay and no shoes and walking in the bare feet in the snow and going across the Potomac. Well, they didn't have iPhones and camera and AI and the ability to report on what happened back then like they have in the last 10 years. Can you imagine the textbooks and the movies and the culture and the magazines and just what is in 250 years from now? What are they going to be saying about people like us talking on the internet right now?
That's why we are documenting history, doing what we're doing. It's brilliant. So just talking about the financial system, do you want to talk about XRP?
Sure.
I mean, there's a lot of Bitcoin stuff coming out in the Epstein files. A lot of people think, baby trafficking coin, who invented it, and these sorts of things. But, there's a lot of us are looking into or have, invested in gold and silver. But there's a lot of excitement about XRP and these ISO 222 coins.
Sure.
What is it? None of us are financial advisors. Oh, you're not a financial advisor, Rob. Oh, yeah.
I am not. This is entertainment purposes only.
Yeah, exactly. And to piggyback on what Stu is saying, also, you did say that this system, that we have is honest and all that. But I think what's key, and maybe you could explain it for someone to understand who doesn't understand a lot of this, that part of the reason it can be honest is because it's very unhackable. And so there's a way that it's protected, so to speak, unlike the other systems we had where there was a lot of corruption that could be in there because they could sort of infiltrate and take over. So if you could kind of put everything we just said to you together to try to talk about, that'd be great.
Sure. Well, it's important for people to understand that, look, XRP itself as a token, let's start there. It was born June the 2nd of 2012, almost 14 years ago. Okay. The XRP ledger, I want the world to think of it this way. Just ask yourself, what if we could set up one QuickBooks system that the whole world could sort of operate on? Okay. One accounting system with, 1,000 licenses and 8 billion customers. But the system fundamentals, the principles have to work on openness, honesty, transparency, accountability, atomic settlement, reconciliation, all of the principles. If money is a trust system, then trust has to be verifiable, has to be seen, it has to be reconcilable, has to be accounted. people have to take an oath that what's on the record and what's on the ledger is accurate. We have to have attestation, verification, validation, transparency, settlement, and record keeping. Okay? So if those are the immutable principles or requirements of one big global QuickBooks system, well, what is that software? What is that railing system? What is that infrastructure that value could transport itself around and dash across? Is it a printing press? Is it the internet of value, maybe? You know, is it based on mathematical protocols where, look, math is either right or wrong.
Mm-hmm.
It's 1 or 0. Everything, math is a science. It's a law. There's a lawgiver and a designer, and actual laws with a capital L are immutable and indestructible and timeless. And math is the most perfect of those sciences, or those laws. The omniscience means omniscience. Okay? If God is omniscient, perfect, and powerful, he creates a law or a science called math, and math is either perfectly right or it's wrong. And this system is going to run on this global QuickBooks system where we can all verify the math. We can all look at the data. We can run the calculations. The algorithms can look at the algorithms. I can make sure that your ID, you're you and I'm me. Your wallet is your wallet and my wallet. Your property is your property. It's not hypothecated to somebody else or rehypothecated 6 times. You're in compliance with your city, state, and nation. I'm in compliance with my city, state, and nation. I want to send you $100 and you want to receive $100. And you and I do that transaction, and it settles like that with no third party involved. It's mathematically verifiable from a standpoint of ownership, compliance, transfer, and settlement, and it writes to a ledger that everyone can look at and verify. Where does the third party interloper or the person that wants to steal, how do they take any time, value, money, ownership, change a contract, cook the books, or claim ownership on something when they weren't even involved in the equation between me and you? This is a perfect example of the technologies that we have available today, the laws and principles that we have available today. The only thing that's been missing on a system like this has been the willpower to make it work. Everyone wanted to control their own little fiefdom. They wanted their own little secret cabal, their own cartel, call it the BIS, the Federal Reserve, whatever you want to call it. But in order to have control, they have to lie, cheat, steal, hide, obfuscate, buy off people, scare people, have people say, well, it's too complicated for me to figure out, whatever. I'll just believe the experts and do what they tell me to do. I'll just be a good little slave and fill out my 1040 every year because that's what they tell me. Yeah, I know the Constitution doesn't say anything about it, but I'm still going to just go ahead and give them 40% of my life. So if you look at this new decentralized ledger technology, what's that about? It's a methodology that allows truth and accuracy to be recorded on the QuickBooks system, on the ledger. It's also important to understand the XRP ledger is not owned by any nation and it is not owned by any company. The XRP ledger is open source software held in public trust for the benefit of all humanity. Anyone can use the XRP ledger, just like anyone can go start programming on Linux software. Linux is open source code. No money, no permission slip, no anything, just start using it. Now, there's programming language and laws and principles of how it works. You've got to know how to program and know what you can and can't do based on the software system, but anyone can use it. No one controls it. No one owns it. No one can weaponize the XRPL to make money off of World War IV. Okay. No one owns it for their own benefit. It's open code governance. So it's so important for people to understand that total transparency, total decentralization of me managing my wealth, and Stu, you managing your wealth, and Elisa, you managing your wealth. That is the essence of giving power back to we the people. Because the only power the swamp knows is money. So if Trump's going to give the power, return the power back to we the people, he's going to return the money back to we the people. Where we're in control of our wealth. We're in control of our value. We are our own banker. We decide what we will and won't do and how we'll share it, what we'll build, what we'll invest in, how we will manage the resources that are here temporarily for us while we're stewards on this earth. And we don't need some politician in some swamp water somewhere putting their agenda before ours and playing God with their values superimposed on my family. The only way we right this thing is let us be in control and sovereign lives. Let God, if I want God to be my master and I want to try to align myself with sovereign laws and live under kingdom rules and kingdom economics under his way, there's nothing in that system that says go chop off your neighbor's head. There's nothing in that system that says, well, I got to go make everybody act just like me. There's nothing in that system that says the more stuff I get, the happier I'll be. Okay? There's nothing in kingdomnomics, if you will, that's going to hurt anybody, except for those perverts that want to control and consolidate all the power under their control. So go right ahead, please.
Well, just because so the creation, you said it was created June 2nd, 2012. And so the creators of it, right? Because we always hear, Brad Garlinghouse and Schwartz, and we hear these names and the Ripple. Can you just kind of make sense of all that and how that fits, considering the fact that this is open code governance, it's free, it's open to everyone? Because it sounds like there's a corporate structure, to all.
Yeah. There is corporate structure to Ripple. Okay. Ripple is a private for-profit company. XRP Ledger is open source software. The XRP token was, launched. First, it was called OpenCoin as a company before it became Ripples, and then Ripple, the company. And David Schwartz has a patent on distributed computer technology and algorithms that he had filed as a provisional patent, or I think it was it elevated an actual patent on how you can take a project and break it down into subparts and do distributed computing. Okay. And create the algorithm that allows. If people need to understand the utility of XRP, what it is. XRP is, if you will, let me give you an analogy. Jeff Bezos built Amazon. He's first started trying to do it just to build, Kindle books so everybody could read a book. And it took forever, and everybody laughed at him and mocked at him. And once he got that product up and running at scale, then you could sell anything in the world based on the platform and the infrastructure, right? So now if you go to buy something at Amazon, or you got this little box with a smiley on the side of the box, and the package goes from Amazon to me, Amazon to you, right? Doesn't really matter what's inside the package per se. It's just you're transferring value between two parties. I go and buy it, and boom, here comes the box.
Right.
Right? XRP is that box with a smiley face on the side of it. It's a token that can transport value between two people transparently. XRP, if you will, is the perfectly designed stenographer, bookkeeper that can write to that ledger, the global QuickBooks. The XRP ledger can check compliance, check identity, check assets, check encumbrances, check compliance, check it on both sides, transfer property, put it on the books, settle it, done. At atomic speed, at the speed of light, mated with quantum computing. Okay, so XRP is a utility transportation. You call it, remember the Jetsons when we were kids? We used to watch the little speed cars that would transport everybody around. XRP is a utility token that is, think of it as the red blood cells in our DNA in our body that just moves oxygen through our system, right? Every time our heart beats and pumps, the blood flows and oxygen flows and we breathe. Well, the XRP is a utility token that allows people or corporations or nations to transfer value back and forth between nations, however many times a day they need to do it, however much it is. It can scale to the quadrillions. You can have an XRP token be used 18 times a day. And it's sortie, its distance from here to South Africa or here to South Alabama is 3 to 5 seconds. Every time the server updates, the transaction's taking place, and the records are immutably stored on an immutable record called the blockchain, right? 10-minute blocks of time. A blockchain is hashtag 10 minutes of all immutably recorded records the world over in a time sequence, and then hashtag. And in 1,000 years from now, we can go back and look at that one block of data and records that were kept on a bunch of distributed servers and verify what actually happened. If we ever need to go back and look, Rob, what happened to your wife, 2 years ago? Let's go back and look at Rob's spending patterns. Was he buying guns? What was he doing? If there's a lawful order for justice to be applied, then there's a professional record on the books that it's not my set of books and Hillary's set of books and the Federal Reserve set of books, and the Treasury set of books. There's one ledger. There's one set of books. And you can't go and hack 250 sets of books.
Right.
Right? So you have a record of honesty. You have a free, unlimited ability to transfer trust and value the world over between any two parties in 3 to 5 seconds. And as long as nations' laws are in compliance with and recognize Clarity Act, anyone, that these things can happen, game on, we can play football. Okay? Right now, we're trying to play a global game of football, and there's no white lines painted on the grass. There's no middle line. There's no end zones. There's no rule book. We're trying to play a game, a bunch of people. We want to have the World Cup, but nobody knows what the damn rules are because there's no laws in place.
Yeah.
How do you have a World Cup championship without any markings on the field, the size of the soccer ball, the pressure in the soccer ball, who the referees are, how long each quarter is, and how do you know who won and lost? And the rules aren't in place yet because those that have run the monopoly, the American Bankers Association and the central bankers, don't want there to be any rules in place. Because when the new rules are in place, their gig is up.
Yeah.
Exactly. Now, I want to ask you more about the Clarity Act because that's on my list. But
I just have a couple more XRP questions, Stu,
Okay.
just in case. So 2 questions, really. We've heard, at least, us that are not as well versed in it as you are, XRP is backed by gold and XLM is backed by silver. Can you speak to that? And why is investing in XRP, I don't even know if I want to use the word investing, but owning XRP, why does that seem to be something that people think is going to be good? And how does that compare to all these other thousands of cryptos that are out there? Did I ask too much at once?
No. It's a great question. I'll give it to you from my perspective. The infrastructure of the new monetary system is trust. And XRP is a trust protocol. It is trust infrastructure. It transcribes and makes it all work. Accountability, identity, value, hypothecation, settlement, ledgering, all of it. It's the engine that makes the system of trustlessness happen. I mean, think about this. The trustlessness has to happen according to laws and principles, and no human being can get involved in light speed atomic quantum computing in 3 seconds and audit anything. So we can either place our trust in math, which was created by God, in the system that we can verify and hold accountable and inspect, or we can keep holding on to Gary Gensler and Jamie Dimon. So do we want to trust in the system, or do we want to trust in people?
Right.
So XRP, if people would understand that on the ISO coins, there's only one enterprise grade ISO aligned global payment system on that list, built for purpose of moving massive sums of money between nations and conglomerates. The only enterprise-wide scalable solution on the ISO list to do just that is Ripple and XRP. Okay, so if it's going to be the captains and the referees and the head coaches and the stewards and the pilots that fly all of this money and all this value between nations and people and countries and NGOs and organizations, that might be something you'd want to probably own a piece of that architecture, right? Just as gold, think about this, gold and silver, XAG, XAU, XRP, XLM, XDC. X means neutral. X means international commodity, if you will. An ounce of gold's worth an ounce of gold's worth an ounce of gold, whether you're in Swahili or Sweden or South Alabama. An ounce is an ounce is an ounce, right? XRP is just a token that is going to be part of a system that is going to help move quadrillions of dollars of value around the world. It may move stock certificates. It may move mortgages. It may move treasury bills. It may move US dollars, Brazilian reals, German marks, Italian liras. Add it all together, derivatives, mortgage contracts, precious metals. Add it all together, it's going to be worth quadrillions of dollars. Well, once XRP becomes protocol in the system, bankers and institutions will stop asking, how much does that cost per token? And the question will be, can we exist without it? And if the answer is no, then whatever the price is the price is, because they have to have it to exist. Can we compete without XRP and go back to manual stenography and accountants and handwriting down of all? No. Would we be in compliance? Would we be competitive? No. When the switch gets flipped and the system starts to migrate over, and the XRP token helps correspondent bankers, not central bankers, but correspondent bankers compete more effectively, eliminate cost, get rid of all that infrastructure and conflict of interest and having to be forced to compete with Citi and Jamie Dimon and HSBC, the Big Ten, and then all these correspondents, our little subcategory of a lower tier group of bankers that just have to do whatever the 10 big men tell them they can or can't do. What happens when that infrastructure goes away? Everybody has to compete. All bankers have to compete on a level playing field. And what happens when 80 to 85% of all of that fee structure of every banker that takes a hand, puts his hand in the middle of me and you transferring value back and forth? What happens when 85% of those quadrillions of dollars of value get left in the hands of we the people instead of in their control? all of a sudden they're going to need 85% less people. They're going to have 85% less revenue. They're going to need 85% less commercial real estate. Now, these bankers are going to have to compete on adding value back to we the people instead of extracting wealth from us. The business model changes to add value or go out of business because I don't need you. Show me financial planning, help me set up a trust. What happens, if I die, will my wife be taken care? How do I structure things and hold my assets? And what happens, through the inheritance process for my great grandkids? Value like that, people are going to need help with.
Mm-hmm.
Feeing me to death with usury interest rates and bounce check charges and margins on loans because you give me 0.5% on my passbook savings account, then you print 10x into creation out of thin air, and then you charge me 7% for a car loan, but give me 0.5% on my passbook savings. That model is dead.
Yeah.
That model's gone. And who benefits from that model dying is everybody in the world that has money to own and move and control and give away and spend and invest. Because now the power is back with we the people instead of in the hands of the central bankers.
Yeah, brilliant. Do you want to talk a little bit more about the Clarity app then? Because I think I heard you say, is it going to be signed in April?
Well, it looks like by April, Brad Garlinghouse has come out and said 80 to 90% chance. A lot of people are talking that they finally got off center. It looks like they're going to go to markup by March the 1st, which is coming up like next week. President Trump himself said there's going to be consequences if this bill isn't in motion by March 1. He's sick and tired of it. He's got a clock. He's got an agenda. He's got a 4th of July celebration coming up. He's got every king, every dignitary, and every citizen on earth with an open door invitation to come visit America during America 250. He would like this place to be a shining city on a hill again and have our act together and get our monetary house in order and get things going and cooking at least a quarter. Can we have just 90 days before the 4th of July to start seeing some benefit, to start seeing some actual legislation? We're seeing crypto markets being manipulated like crazy. We're seeing spoof trades and fake order books and markets. I saw a chart the other night that showed like the top 25 cryptocurrencies. Every chart looked exactly like this. That's not a That's not a market. That's not free trade. That's global manipulation suppressing all of the digital assets because A, they can, and B, there are no laws on the books that say they can't because we don't have any legislation passed yet. We're operating under the 1933 and 1940 SEC Securities Acts and the hundreds and hundreds of revisions of the Federal Reserve income tax. And we don't have a body of laws. It's like, again, I go back to we're playing World Cup soccer we can't even play World Cup soccer because nobody knows the damn rules. It's a whole brand new sport. It's a whole brand new global economy. It's a whole brand new global monetary system and framework. But the country that represents 25% of the world's GDP cannot become the crypto capital of the world without a rule book, without laws. How does any board member, board of directors, CEO, chief legal officer, chief financial officer, regulator, judge hold anybody to account to a set of rules that don't exist? How can anybody operate and honor their fiduciary responsibility to do the best to bring maximum value to shareholders because they really like this video? They read up and they've been in the movement for 5 years, so they're going to start moving all of the the hundreds of billions of dollars of customer assets at Apple into a new system, whether there's any rules or not. They're pretty sure how things are going to look. There's no fiduciary in the world that can start doing that. Money can't move until laws are on the books. And so until we get the Clarity Act, everybody's kind of frozen.
Yeah. Do you think we're going to see a banking collapse publicly? Because we talk about scare necessary events in the Q drops. With these Epstein files that have come out, people are still just not getting involved. They're looking the other way. And, you know, are we going to have a precipice moment? Do you think the banks are going to go down so people think just for a short period of time that they've lost all their money as a catalyst to get them involved?
I believe there's an engineered soft landing. I think, however, there's going to be a lot of narratives that are going to scare the people to death. People are not going to know where to turn. They're not going to know where to anchor themselves in the storm. They're surely not going to come to the three of us, because look at us. We're the motliest looking crew you could ever see. I mean, if we ain't on Fox News or CNN, they ain't going to buy it.
Right.
You know? So as the temperature gets hotter and the winds get higher, when the corrupt banks and the banks that haven't adopted or don't know how to adopt or haven't changed or haven't adjusted and positioned themselves for this new monetary system, look, at the end of the day, 70 or 80% of the banks are eventually going to go away. Is that a collapse? It's a transition from the old to the new.
Yeah.
And every time another bank goes out of business, the people that have, you know, Mabel and George are going to go, honey, there sure does seem like a whole bunch of banks dying. What do you think's going on? I mean, people are going to wake up at different speeds, and they're going to wake up to the level of their capacity to try to process and understand what has happened. You know, if I could, Stu and Alyssa, this is a call to action to those watching this video, but if I could say, what's the one gift that we could give people that are maybe just starting to wake up or have just this much humility and want to start learning? Like, you know, at least the gentleman that you just talked about 2 weeks ago no idea about the Federal Reserve. The movie Money Disrupted just came out on the 20th, February 20th, and it's a 2-hour documentary that covers 250 years from 1776 to 2026. It stars G. Edward Griffin, the author of the book, The Creature from Jekyll Island.
Mm-hmm.
I was blessed to be in it as well with a lot of other big, you know, Robert Kiyosaki, Gary Cardone, Ron Paul, Lynette Zhang, Andy Schechtman, just a lot of really, really smart people that know. Linda P. Jones was in it. Jimmy Valley was in it. Molly Elmore was in it. Coach JV, Zach Rector, Jake Claver, a lot of really smart people. And we take us through the timeline of how money was, how it evolved, and where we're going, okay? In a way that if people would simply listen and watch this movie, this documentary by very smart people, it would allow us to begin to unite as people. Because then, you know, what you could do is you could go out and watch the movie yourself and write on the website, Fruition Productions or Fruition Films. It's on my timeline, or maybe if you want to show it, if you want to, you know, pull up my timeline, we can show the audience. But we can begin to unite as a people and have a civil conversation around ideas that are true and not conspiratorial.
Right.
Once a person begins to understand, oh, wow, I never knew all of this. I really never knew anything at all about banking. That was never my thing. But when they start to understand, wait a minute, we had a constitution, and we had a treasury, and then we had a hijacking, and then we had all these wars and sickness and death, and the military industrial complex, war after war after war, doesn't have to be that. Now I see why all wars are bankers' wars, and why we seem to be in debt and bankrupt and poor all the time, because they wanted us to be.
Yeah.
It doesn't. Wow. Now I see Wow, thank you for showing me that. Now we as people in communities and families and companies and industries can begin to unite over a civil conversation over a common body of facts and truths, right? And nobody in this movie is got their hair lit on fire. They're wearing Q hats, they're none of this craziness. It's just one of the most, I believe it will be in 100 years from now, business schools and corporations and libraries and families are going to be talking about this documentary. You know what? We've got to, maybe our best gift that we can give to people for birthday or high school graduation or college or just a peace offering or a local library or have a viewing party at your church. Have everybody come in, and then you can start talking about it from any angle you want to talk about it. Biblically, culturally, economically, however you want to go and examine, wow, I didn't know how we got here, but now I see what's going on, and I see the wars and the powers and the entrenched entities and who's fighting who and who's been lying to me and who hasn't been lying to me. If we could just level the playing field in our families and in our communities, think about how much faster we could start to unite if people would at least accept some basic truths. And I think this movie is one of the greatest things in the world we could all do. It's one of the easiest solutions that if we could get it out and ask people to please just invest 2 hours of their time in a very remarkable movie, and then let's go have a beer.
Yeah.
Go watch this and let's just go have a couple pints at the bar, in a couple weeks. What do you say, mate? And then we just go and we don't have a hair on fire conversation about who's right and who's wrong and try to win on points. We just come together and have a civil conversation about it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm going to watch that later. Now, you were just talking about your timeline then. Did you want to show me something on your Twitter?
Yeah, let me see if I can do that.
Yeah, I pulled it up. I actually.
Oh, you did? Good. There you go. Yeah, why don't you go? There you go.
There you go. It's right above. If you go up a little bit, go up right there.
Let's just show that clip real quick.
Okay, let me just. I'll get it a bit bigger. People can see that.
To your point, Rob, it's if you show people things in an intellectual area, right? Epstein files and child trafficking and all that is an emotional, dump on them. But bringing them up to date on things that are more cerebral, like the banking system, is really an amazing first step to waking people up, because that's at the core of all these other issues that we have for the most part.
Amen.
Yeah,
it is.
Well, I've just played this, and I just want to say I found it very interesting when you said earlier about talking about gold, silver, XRP and stuff, that you said X is neutral. And it just made me thought, I wonder if that's why Elon changed the name of Twitter to X at that time.
He's got a son named X. He's got cars named X. He had a credit card named XPay back when he was doing PayPal. He has always said he owns a domain, x.com. His money system is called XPay. And he's about to roll out, just to give you an idea how big this is. There's about 550 million active crypto users and wallets in the world. He has over 600 million on his platform. Wow. He could double the utilization and adoption and operations of crypto. And he wants X to be the everything app, like a WeChat, where you can move money and do calendaring and schedules and emails and communications and post videos and sign contracts, basically do everything on your phone with AI and an app and move money. I mean, it very well may be that X could become the largest financial institution on planet Earth.
Yeah, exactly. Right, let's just play this. So just say the Rebel Life in the chat. It's called Money Disrupted, the movie. Right, I'll mute myself and play.
The majority of Americans don't make enough money to cover some of the basic costs of living.
Each of us right now are seeing impact
and the pain of inflation. It's getting to the point of we are just running out of runway. Our cash flow is getting squeezed, and we're at a mathematical time bomb. We're bankrupt. Every one of these cycles where you print money through this process of inflation, which is created by politicians promising us the sun, the moon, and the stars. They want to get reelected, and in order to make the promises come true, they have to print more money. We've gone from a limited government with very clearly delineated responsibilities and authorities to a nation that is the largest corporation on earth. China and India. Together, let's just call it 2.5 billion people. We have 330 million people, yet our government is bigger than the government of both of those nations combined.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, excellent.
So the point of the matter is let's put the big picture out there and put the context in its proper context. And then let's just let the conversations among friends and neighbors begin. If they're genuinely curious and they have a humility and they're not there just to fight and argue and win, but they really want to understand, then those 2 beers could turn into 7 beers and you could be there for 4 hours.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, there's a lot to talk about here. So let's talk. Let's talk. No one's going to get hurt by having a conversation except your pride, your ego, maybe your people could get scared really fast if they start going, oh my God, if income taxes go away and I'm a CPA, what's that? All of a sudden they can get afraid for themselves. And that's a natural fear. Oh my God, what happens if they don't need lawyers anymore or computer programmers anymore, or movie makers anymore? Because I can go to ChatGPT and tell it to make me a movie, or I can go to NVIDIA AI and have a movie made in 4 minutes. What's going to happen doing very mundane? What if robots can go down underneath the coal mines and get coal out and you don't have to go get black lung disease? But you still have a way to make money doing something else, or we have unbelievable wealth that is allowed to stay back in the community instead of being extracted out of the community into the hands of central bankers and governments. What happens if all the wealth that's underneath our feet stays right where it is for the benefit of everybody standing on top of the wealth?
Yeah.
Our world would be a pretty damn fine place.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. Elisa, you got anything else to ask? I've got one more question that I always finish with.
One last question. This is just, more for fun than anything else. But do you, aside from what we just talked about with X, with Elon, do you have any things that are maybe comms that you could speak of that President Trump has kind of given to us with regard to XRP?
Well, we've seen him have a very ceremonial dinner at Mar-a-Lago with the CEO and the chief legal officer of Ripple. Mm-hmm. We have seen him up his game about the irrelevancy of income tax and the no look. If the Federal Reserve goes away, on the same day the Federal Reserve came into existence, we got the income tax and the IRS. If one goes, they all three go.
Right.
The only reason the two exist is to funnel the payments and taxes back to the owners of the cartel. Mm-hmm. Right? If the cartel, external revenue service, we're not going to have an internal revenue service and an external revenue service. The external revenue service is tariffs. The internal revenue service is income tax and the Federal Reserve. We're going to have A or B. We're not having A and B.
Right.
So people need to understand when they hear external revenue service, no tax on tips, no tax on military veterans, no property tax movement going around the country, no need for anybody making under 200. Elon Musk has said, look, we're going to have universal high income, not universal basic income. There's so much wealth that needs to be restored. What's the saying? The wicked will steal wealth from the world and it will be returned to the righteous. How much have they stolen in 113 years? How much gold, how much silver, how much land, how much death and destruction? How much wealth has been stolen that was rightfully never, ever theirs?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This goes back to the adage of fraud vitiates everything. If the Federal Reserve was a fraud and it was a fraud, how much wealth needs to be redistributed to all of us?
Yeah.
A lot. As they say down south, a shit ton.
Yeah.
Yeah. Brilliant. Well, I've just been asking all our guests since last week one final question. I get a lot of people going, oh, nothing's happening, black pilling and all this stuff. What is your message to those people? Hope and what? Just open your eyes and look around at what's going on.
Boy, that is one of my triggering questions when I hear people tell me nothing's happening,
All
and
of us.
I almost want to pull my hair out. Yeah, nothing's happening. No exposure. No. We haven't left NATO. We haven't left the world reserves currency system behind. We don't have a system ready to replace it. We haven't we haven't locked down our borders where they're hermetically sealed. You can't get back in. We haven't had 55 weeks of all-time highs in the stock market. We haven't seen silver go from 17 to 117. We haven't seen gold go up. We haven't seen inflation come down. We haven't seen eight-piece deals in the Middle East with the Abraham Accords. We haven't seen the near ending of the Russia-Ukraine war. We haven't seen the creation of a board of peace. We haven't seen. You're right. There's nothing happening.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Not to mention the exposure of an entire satanic world of pedophiles.
right.
Right. If that doesn't wake people up to the exposure and what's been going on and how much. Yeah.
If anyone would spend any time with an open mind and an ounce of humility and look at the Epstein files unredacted and see how many heads of state. It's been 400 years since last time I checked somebody from the British royal family was ever arrested for jaywalking.
That's right.
400 years. Okay. You look at the CEOs that are resigning. Larry Summers, the former treasurer, resigning from Anthropic. The founder and executive of the most powerful law firm in New York resigning. Politicians quitting. People being put in prison. Maduro being taken out of his country. The Mexican cartels being taken out in Mexico. The Minneapolis fraud being exposed. The military-industrial complex. The voter washing mechanism that has globally infected 70 plus nations the world over, and vote laundering. If you cannot vote, you do not have freedom, period. You have handlers that have been installed to lie to you and lord over you. You do not have a country and a nation if you can't vote for who you want to be in office. So we've exposed the voting industrial complex, the medical industrial complex, the money industrial complex, the media industrial complex, the trafficking industrial complex, the academia industrial complex, the censorship industrial complex. Don't put the wrong gender in a tweet in England or your ass is going to jail.
Yeah.
Right? Nothing's happening. You're right. I forgot. Nothing's happening.
Well, nothing is happening. And not only has Prince Andrew been arrested, Peter Mandelson also got arrested yesterday. So things are moving on. Now, people are saying, why haven't we seen arrests in America? Maybe that's because POTUS must remain neutral as people begin to be indicted. It told us that in 2017 in drops 4 and 6. Just watch what happens, people, because things have been happening for 10 years.
and because there's such a psychological, emotional, and cultural and human ego and pride element in this war. We're on a battlefield. We're in a war. Civilians have never been equipped or trained to fight the war. You can't see the enemy. They're not in a uniform. They're not carrying a gun with a backpack and a helmet. You don't even know who the enemy is or where they're coming from and what direction. Okay. So there's a capacity issue. You cannot create an insurrection or civil war or have the vast majority of people be told by rogue media outlets, fake news, that, oh my God, it's a banana republic, it's a military coup, you know, Trump's a dictator. See, we told you, look at what he's doing to us all. You have to bring the American people along so that we, the people, believe and embrace and will keep these changes for the next 50 or 100 years. Otherwise, if you try to rush this too fast, you arrest everybody on a weekend and Barack Obama goes to the Hooskow, like if he's even still alive, and the Clintons get arrested and everybody else gets arrested. It's not going to last.
Right.
We're not going to have cultural cohesion. We're going to have chaos. So there's a capacity issue and a process to waking people up. Kind of like, you know, when a boxer knocks somebody out, you get knocked out flat on your back. We've been knocking your back for 100 years. What do? They come up and they, you know, put some water on them and a wet rag and smelling salts underneath their nose. They got to wake them up. They don't just jerk them up and stand up and go, get back in the fight.
Right.
You know, I mean, they would fall right back down if you tried to stand them up because they've been knocked out. Well, Trump has the added responsibility of waking up a knocked out public that has been TKO'd by lies and bullshit for 100 years. At what pace do you wake people up? That's part of the equation.
Yeah. And it's people who don't understand that make that comment because they don't understand. It's that whole immediate gratification. And it's not really, in my opinion, going within to say, well, that's what's going on. But now that I know this, like, how can I make a difference and how can I change my own life? As opposed to still waiting for, you know, I call it the Ozempic generation. They want that immediate gratification. Amazing answer to that story, Rob. Thank you so much.
Absolutely brilliant. That's been one of my favorites. That is. So, thank you for coming on. If anyone wants to follow Rob, I'll just get these up. He is the Cool Show, KUWL, on Twitter. And
there you go. If you'll click on my link or the homepage there, the little cool button, you'll see that. Look, I've just launched this 2 weeks ago, and you know, it helped me organize my articles and my videos, and then my at large, like we'll get your video up here so people will be able to find it. That's just a little bit. This is all free. There's no cost. There's no charge. Nobody's going to visit your home or give you a phone call, you know, but you can search XRP or Ripple or anything that I've spoken about on the search bar ought to let you look through my articles and videos and interviews and maybe find something to your liking. But it's a labor of love. It's something I love to do, and it's free for anybody that wants to use it.
Brilliant. And what was it like meeting the man?
Oh man, fantastic. I got to spend an hour in a round table with him and a Herschel Walker and a bunch of other really cool cats in Georgia back in 2022 when he came for the midterms of 2022. And we sat around for an hour and chatted, and he spoke for the first 20, 25 minutes. And then he took questions, and I've been blessed to get to go to Mar-a-Lago twice as well. And do a Christmas special event down there with him and his son and daughter-in-law. And for a man that's the most influential, consequential, and powerful man in the world, he's just a cool person to be around. He's kind, he's loving, he's genuine, he's fun to be around, he's funny, he's quick-witted and smart. You can tell he's focused, but he's he's the real deal. He's just a genuine person.
Yeah. I mean, as a native of Queens myself, he was always our kind of Queens boy up here, just for the things he did that we knew through the community. And before he was in the, loved by the world. And he did some pretty amazing things for people not looking for recognition. So I don't think character is something you can hide or change.
Right. I agree.
Well, exactly. And that's that. When you find things out about that man that he's done for people that were never publicized,
Right.
the stories that other people have told, it makes you respect him even that little bit more.
Yeah, it absolutely does. You know what? Who you are speaks so loudly. I cannot hear what anybody else says. I mean, the evidence. Look at his kids. Look at his kids versus
Hunter Biden.
Other politicians' kids.
Others.
Look at the fruit from the tree.
Yeah.
Judge the fruit. What has the man done? What has he accomplished? Who has he helped? Who has he benefited? I mean, what is he doing now? World peace, a global peace association, ended 8 wars, closed our border, exposed child trafficking the world over, unleashing medical patents that are going to help people save lives. I mean, for a man that's a narcissistic, bad orange dude, he seems to be saving a lot of people's lives, ending a lot of wars, and returning a lot of wealth.
Yeah.
The funny thing is that the critics of Donald Trump never, ever want to talk about his accomplishments. They'll never give homage to them or even discuss them. They just want to tear the man down because they are possessed by their ideology, and they're incapable of being objective and humble.
Rob, I think it also just comes down to plain old jealousy.
Yeah.
Just jealousy. I listen to men sometimes rip him apart, and I'm like, no wonder. What have you accomplished?
Yeah.
What kind of character do you have? What kind of relationships do you have? What have you done? And the same of women. I mean, listen, we all were around when he was going through his divorces and this and that. But you know something? He's never badmouthed the mother of his children. You can't have kids that turn, as a person who's been divorced, you can't have kids that are so well put together if you're not somehow working in, together with the mother of your children.
Let me take that a step further. Every single ex-wife, and I know Marla Maples, and I know that every ex-wife was treated with dignity.
Yes.
First family status. They could come into the White House. They could go to Mar-a-Lago, Christmases, birthdays, celebrations. There was an honor and a reverence, no bitterness, no hatred, no, typical divorce kind of theatrics, none of that. You want to talk about having a Melania as your current wife and two ex-wives invited to Christmas dinner? I mean, how many men could do that?
That's right.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, there's definitely 3 segments of this show that I am going to clip out later. So that's going to keep me busy all evening, obviously, isn't it? But Rob, thanks for coming on. That was amazing.
Thank you so much.
Oh, thank y'all for inviting me. It's been a real pleasure.
Yeah. Brilliant. Okay. Well, where we go when we go all. Thank you everyone in the chat for coming. Just seen Joe turn up from Truth Stream there. We love you all. Thanks for the interaction. And we'll see you tomorrow. We've got a couple of little shows on tomorrow, 2 and 4 o'clock English time. Whatever you convert that to in Eastern at the moment. But yeah.
Thank you, Stu.
Cheers,
thank
guys.
you, Elisa. And thank you to everyone for being here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Lots of love.
Love, not fear, people. Love, not fear.
In a world flooded with noise, clarity has become rare. People are questioning what they're told and searching for something real. Mr. Heal's modern wellness meets old school remedies. CBD tinctures, methylene blue, gummies and edibles, THC-free wellness, and functional remedies crafted with old school care and modern precision. Biozox, a trusted source for ivermectin and fenbendazole. Biozox, believe your health decisions should be yours, not dictated by politicians or big pharma. Crafted with purpose and precision, Freedom Forged coffee. Coffee, cacao and mushroom tinctures. Small batch roasted coffee, rich cacao and functional mushrooms crafted with purpose. Verity Metals, redefining what precious metals investing should be. Why choose Verity Metals? We're not just another gold dealer. We're a trusted retirement partner. Our clients choose us because we lead with education, integrity, and transparency. Medical bills are the leading cause of bankruptcy in the United States, accounting for 66.5% of bankruptcies. We can all agree the healthcare system is broken. There is an alternative: impact health sharing, which Yahoo News is calling the disruptor in the $4.6 trillion healthcare system. For more information, visit patriotsacrossthepond.com.